we can go back to the duel. That's perfect. Like,
yeah, we'll take it from the top. Yeah. The synopsis they have online: a wandering stranger with a mysterious past defends a village from powerful bandits. While taking them on, the truth about his past is revealed. I'm not really sure about that last sentence because they don't really reveal much about his past. But to me, this was like every Ronin Japanese movie I've ever seen. It was every Wandering Swordsman movie I've ever seen. I did preface this whole thing with I don't really like anime, but I loved how overly stylized it is, and their very selective use of color was really cool. And as much as I love this character, and from what I gather from just being online in Star Wars fan communities, everyone loved this one. I don't think if they made like a 90-minute movie out of this, I don't think I could watch that art style for 90 minutes.
Well, I haven't read the book that spun off of this too. I'm just going off of what people have told me about it, but they kind of feel the same way where they're like, I don't know if this has the legs as a concept to sustain a longer form story, because it just sort of eventually either is a samurai story or a Star Wars story. Like, there's not, so far, at least from what I've heard, and I need to read the book. I'd like to read it. But I kind of agree with you where I'm like, I don't know how novel this idea is going forward. Like, I've read the 2 comics that have spun off of this short, and they're really great. They're drawn by the guy who created Afro Samurai, so it's like really phenomenal art. And they're very short, like self-contained stories. I feel like that's where this benefits. Like, that benefits this story and this setting where it's like just short, quick little like adventures instead of something 90 minutes or a whole novel or graphic novel.
For this, and it's crazy because like if you go to play it, it's like 19 minutes, but 8 of those minutes are credits.
Yeah.
But what works so well is that it is such a trope, and that's not a slight on it at all. But like, if you're into pop culture, you're into movies to any degree, even if you don't go deep on like Japanese, I would not say I go deep on Japanese cinema. I've seen a bunch of Japanese movies, but like, it's not like a thing I studied. But you understand the concept of, because it's a Western also. It's the wandering gunslinger. It's the same idea. It's this kind of guy, maybe an anti-hero who doesn't really have a place. You don't know where he came from. You don't know where he's going. And any longer series would just be a sequence of him doing this, and then he crosses the wrong big bad that is doing things in multiple towns, and there's a big showdown eventually. So I can see it. Yes, you could do 100 of these because you could just help different people, and you slowly trickle in bits of his past and what went wrong and why he has a red and not a blue lightsaber, why he thinks Red Kyber can ward off evil, because he'd have to get into more lore building. But because it's such familiar elements, I think it was a no-brainer to start with, because it is overly stylized. So even for non-anime fans like me, it's so far beyond, it doesn't look like any other thing I've ever seen. And the way they did the color with like a little bit of the 2.5D animation was really cool. So having it be so familiar, you don't need to overly explain it, and I think that's why it worked.
Yeah, it grounds the audience, and also it kind of eases us into like Star Wars fans into like the grounding in archetypes, and sort of everything that you just said is really important on just sort of giving you something familiar to latch on to. And that makes the idea of a like one, and I don't know what the Ronin is, but like one potentially bad guy fighting another bad guy, and there being this like spectrum of the dark side. It's sort of like in this where it's like, you know, he's wielding red kyber crystals to fight a Sith that's doing bad things, you know, but he could potentially be a bad guy as well. So that's sort of a complex idea, not something maybe you'd be able to do as easily, like as we've talked about in canon with like sort of the binary of the light side and the dark side.
Yeah, well, what I do like about that, if you do try to tie it to the canon and all the existing lore, which these, of course, are not, what I do like about it is just because someone falls to the dark side does not make them a Sith, and also doesn't mean they're going to get along with anyone else who's in the dark side, which is exactly how the Sith all killed each other. So
yeah, exactly. So
cool, where he's like, I didn't necessarily save the village because it was the moral right thing to do. I needed a place to stay. I didn't like this other person. I hated this person more than I liked them, or right, whatever it is. Or I hated this person more than I didn't care about them, or something. I took him as the hero, and I think that's what you're supposed to do. So I don't know.
Yeah, and it kind of, but it does ease you into, and I would say Tatooine Rhapsody to an extent. And we've talked about that enough, so we can, we don't have to come back to it. But both of those shorts,
I'll check my notes, but I don't think I have much more to say on that one.
Yeah, I don't have anything much more to say either. I think it's both of those shorts, I think, do a really great job of easing you into the weirder stuff that's going to come. Sort of giving you.
I think it gave you both ends of the extreme.
If you're getting value or entertainment out of any of my transmissions, it would mean a lot if you would join the Remnant and subscribe.
The Ninth Jedi, I think, is the best one of all of them. I think it's it's got all the Star Wars elements that you want, but then this idea of I think it's so cool that they went the biggest swing of all of them lore wise, where it's we're going to rewrite how the Jedi Order works here, and how how the dark side, how the Sith and the Jedi work with each other. We're doing a complete alternate reality where the Jedi are sparse and the Sith are many. It's just so cool, the idea of there's this, the universe is just governed by the Sith, and then there are the very small band of Jedi, and led by one freaky looking Darth Vader dude, which I think is so cool. And then it's all built around the construction of lightsabers and kyber and all of that, which I think is
they really went. I mean, they changed lightsaber lore a little bit, but for this one, it's probably, I was saying The Duelist was my favorite, and this one is probably the best story. I think The Duelist just wins for the simplicity, the cool points, the melding of Japanese and Ronin and Samurai and Star Wars and Jedi and Sith. The Ninth Jedi is probably the best story because in there, I'm just going to say 15 minutes for all of them because it's, close enough. In that time, they had 11 characters. They redid the galaxy lore. They redid Jedi and Sith lore. They redid lightsaber and kyber lore. But it's all complete. It's all there. There's no huge knowledge gaps. There's no jumping. There's no you just assume this other thing happened off screen so they could get to that. Part of it is because it starts with narration, which normally just voiceover narration isn't my favorite thing because I feel like on TV or in movies you should show, not tell. But given that you have such a short amount of time, and given that every Star Wars movie has started with a crawl, you're getting that narration anyway. I think that was a genius move. So you get the full story in the 15 minutes, and it even has a couple twists. You think that the good guy is the bad guy for a long time. You think all the bad guys are the good guys. I loved how they turned it on their head and pulled it off in such a short time. And you understood everyone's motivations. You understood where everyone was coming from. And they even foreshadowed in their short amount of time.
Yeah. And also what's great is that they did all of what you said they're doing. And then they built this really cool world around it too. I love the idea that where they collect kyber from is from an asteroid belt above the planet. And how they collect it is by this trebuchet launching a hook into space and capturing one of the asteroids and pulling it down. And you can only get up to the Jedi Temple through this ferry system that has only goes at certain times because of these droids. And then also the idea that is not canon, but I love the idea of the Jedi, the brightness and the transparency and the power of the lightsaber depends on the person's connection to the Force. And then the color comes from that too. And I was like, oh, that's a cool, I think a lot of people have said oh, that would be a cool thing to add to canon. It doesn't need to be, but it's a cool idea that your connection to the Force is reflected through your weapon that you're using, which I really love that idea. Yeah, and I love the Margrave hiding in the big droid, which is also really cool.
That was cool too. But yeah, there is a little bit of the lightsaber lore in canon with the crystal color as far as that goes. Kyber crystals are clear when they find them, and then they're blue or green essentially gets chosen. I don't really know how the yellow and purple get chosen so much, and red obviously is the Sith corrupting it. So it didn't go into all of that, but I did like how they simplified it, but it works. And I also thought the look of her transparent blade was cool, but it still worked as a blade.
Yeah.
The only things, and at this point it's basically nitpicking because they did so much in such a short amount of time. The only things that didn't really work was they made a big deal of the blade being variable length that didn't come into play at all. And there was, out of all the Jedi who ended up being the Sith, there was the one big animal kind of one with the purple lightsaber, and he was fighting. And in the middle of the fight, the one Jedi is like, "Hey, this isn't you," and he's like, "Oh yeah, my bad."
Yeah,
like, that's it.
That's it. Yeah. In my brain, I remember there being more there to get him to turn to the good side. So I was shocked at how quickly he's just like, "Yeah, I'm good now."
Yeah, I thought it was a bit abrupt, but like all things considered, this was the most accomplished in the time.
And this is the one that's going to get a sequel short in the next season and a whole TV series after that, which I'm happy about.
The only one that I wrote, I would watch more of this.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it's the one that has the best, like you said, the best story. And I also think it's got the best action too. Like I think the lightsaber fight at the end between everybody has some really cool moments. Well, and it's also
animated. That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah. Also, it's like something we've been missing, which is like dismemberments in like your lightsaber fight, like people just getting fucked up. Yeah. Sorry to swear, but like, like it's cool. Yeah.
That does need to come back into Star Wars.
Yeah, it does. But no, I love this one a lot. I'm looking forward to the sequel and then eventual TV series. Apparently the TV series is like in the can, like ready to go next year. So okay.
I'll watch it. I like the idea of getting a sequel more because like The Duelist, I would watch another short.
Yeah.
But if they said here's 8 episodes of The Duelist, I would probably watch it, but I would be cautiously wading into it rather than like diving into it.
Yeah.